This meeting will come to order. Roll call today. Everyone is present, absent of Dr. Petrie. And we're going to stand for the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, tonight we ask that you bless this meeting. Thank you for everyone that was here today for the service, and pray that you give us wisdom in the decisions moving forward. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Let it fly.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first order of business is the approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 18th.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any public comments?
No.
I'll call for a question.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I don't have any questions.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes carried, the motion carried. Comments from the library board? All right, no comments. And then now we have our intern direct reports and comments.
So recent staff changes. Martin Cooperson was promoted to Librarian 3 as, that should say South Regional Library, not East. Ryan Lyons was promoted to Children's Librarian 1 at East Regional Library. Madison Bodwin lateraled from the main library to South Regional as a Library Associate 1. Ambry Marceau was hired as a Library Associate 1 at the main library. Wesley Brown and Madeline Fulton were promoted as LTA 3s at the main library and North Regional Library, respectively. The library is in various stages of filling the following positions: Librarian 2 at Main and North, LA 1 as South, LTA 1 at Main, North, and West, Director's Executive Secretary, Building Superintendent, and Library Director. LPL had a very successful library card sign-up month. 1,388 limited edition cards by local artist Denise Gallagher were handed out to patrons. Denise also joined library staff on 2 media appearances, one with Sean Murphy at Big 102.1 FM and one with Brandon and Mark Pope at KPEL. And I already have some good leads on an artist for the 2024 limited edition card. As we enter the 10th year of our Lafayette Reads Together program, the chair of the committee and I have decided to press pause for a chance to reflect, regroup, and reimagine what the program will look like in the future. This decision was not made lightly, but for a myriad of reasons, we felt it was the best course of action at this time. I applaud all staff and community partners who have served on this committee in the past and present, as it is no easy task choosing a book that will appeal to the entire Lafayette community. Beyond that, an integral part of our program is hosting the author, which has become harder and harder to do as speaking and transportation fees have risen significantly. Some authors want upwards of $50,000 in first-class airfare, which we simply cannot afford. And in an effort to be completely transparent, yes, the intense scrutiny that public libraries are facing did play a small part in the decision, but it was not the only reason. Discussion on the structure and future of LRT has been happening for a while now. Ultimately, as September neared and the committee was still struggling to select a book for 2024, I felt it was a good time to pause to reflect on the history of the program, including its successes and failures, and determine what the future of LRT looks like. The program is not canceled or terminated. We are simply taking time to find ways to revamp the program so it can continue to be successful in the future. Our goal is for LRT to come back bigger and better than ever. This process is a natural part of libraries and long-running programs and services. We did this recently with our Read to Me book club, where we did not open registration at the beginning of 2023 and took the time to focus on transitioning to the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program, which just launched on October 2nd. While the traditional LRT program will not be happening in early 2024, we are still working on booking an author to visit sometime in March. A local author, but in my humble opinion, is still a pretty big author. So be on the lookout for more information coming soon. As mentioned, we launched the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program on October 2nd, which is funded by the LPL Foundation. The goal of the program is for parents to read 1,000 books with their children before they enter kindergarten. Children receive prizes at registration, as well as the 250, 500, 750, and 1,000 book milestones. Check out our website or visit your favorite branch for more information. In line with President Kylan Jordan's Getting Back to Basics theme for the year's work, the LPL Foundation's Major Events Committee is fleshing out details for the April 19th, 2024 luncheon. Please save the date for this Gatsby-inspired event to be held at the Petroleum Club in Lafayette's Oil Center, with a soon-to-be-announced speaker and a major focus on leaving a literary legacy. Looking to the future with a unified vision of our mission, the LPLF Board of Directors will soon be entering a strategic plan phase to maximize the continued work at the foundation with a clear, focused mission guiding our growth and future.
Thank you for that. All right. Consider the updates, financial report.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
before we move on to the next thing?
Keller?
I'm sorry. At the last meeting, the one before that, we talked about the North Regional Library and the issues that they were having over there. 60 to 80 kids sometimes having trouble and hanging out in the parking lot. That part really bothers me for the safety of the kids. Can you give us a report on that, please?
Yes, I actually reached out to James Thomas in his capacity as the transportation coordinator. Did I get that right? With LPSS, just to express our concerns and the issues we've been having. I did mention the possibility of requesting that the library not be a bus stop, although the library isn't, as the community center, which for anyone who's not aware, it is more of a venue that people book out. It's not like the MLK Rec Center. People don't go in there. It's not a place for people to go to regularly. But that is the stop. That is my last resort. I don't want that to happen because I do like these kids to have a place to go. Unfortunately, the way it's going is not sustainable. So I do know Thomas sent out a email, or they had LPSS send an email to the parents just to remind them to try to pick them up in a timely manner and just be mindful of the issues we're having. So I thought that was a good first step in addressing the matter. We have also added 4 computers to the teen section at the North Regional Library. Previously, the way they were set up, the computer stations were facing each other, so the kids had direct eye line, and it encouraged them to banter and talk and everything. So we put some procedures in place, separated children from teams, so your middle schoolers are going here, your high schoolers are going here, and we put all the computers facing a wall, so they can still talk to each other side by side, but you're not encouraging that loud face-to-face across from each other banter. So with those things in place, we're going to monitor, see how it goes. But I'm hopeful that this will be some good changes. And then with the renovations next year, we're looking at adding more shelving, which will further separate that teen area and create a buffer, and possibly even a divider that hangs from the wall that will help dampen sound. Because my main concern is that the teens are disrupting other patrons' enjoyment of the library. I don't want them to not enjoy the library. I just need to make sure it's an enjoyable atmosphere for everyone. So we are taking measures and requesting or asking that not be a bus stop is the absolute last resort.
I appreciate that. I did have another question. At the rest, I read all the reports that y'all send us and stuff, and I really appreciate that because it gives me a lot of insight into programs that y'all have for the kids and the adults, and I'm very impressed with what I have read. So kudos to the librarians and the staff members, because I'm sure it takes a lot of thought, effort, energy to think about what you want for the people and also to execute it. So thank y'all for that. But I read something where someone did an ebweb.net webinar that was called When Kids Can't Read, What Can We Do Now That Makes a Difference? I was impressed with that, and I hope that it gives me hope. And I was just curious as to how are y'all going to use it? Is it something that you use just in the library system with your programs here, or do you use it with partnering with LPSS? I was just curious.
Usually when our staff watch these webinars or trainings online, they're looking for ways to incorporate it across the board, whether that means adding early literacy tips into their story times, or outreach events where they're at a booth encountering people outside of the library, or finding ways to partner with the school system or daycares or something like that. I vaguely remember reading that in the monthly report. I'm not sure which library or librarian watched that one, so I can't speak to their intentions, but I do know
Lan?
Lawn.
Oh, Lawn.
Yes, she does do a lot of daycare outreach and things. So sometimes we just watch those webinars and we store it away until you have that perfect moment to be able to implement it. But our
It
staff,
impressed me.
yes, our staff are constantly looking for ways to gather new information, stay on top of trends, and just develop themselves professionally.
Thank y'all for everything y'all do.
Thank you, that's a great question, and Sarah, I even seen a little jar and a smile when you mentioned the kids, so it's good to know that you care about that, and hopefully the vision will come to pass with that, for sure.
Once a children's librarian, always.
Come on. Good. All right, we're gonna move to facility updates, financial report, Mr. Larry.
All right, so the South Regional Library Upgrades Project, the architect notified us that the carpet selection for the storytime room would not be covered under warranty, so we found manufacturers that would provide a warranty when installed over linoleum. So we're gonna meet with the interior designer and make a separate selection for that one room. I also discussed with the architect where the new refrigerant lines would be installed for the mechanical equipment and how they would be installed in the walls. In the staff workroom, we're gonna have to cut open the wall, remove wallpaper, refloat and refinish that wall and paint it. In the adult fiction area, we're just gonna install a little fake column that hides the refrigerant lines. That way we don't have to rip off all the wallpaper and refinish that entire wall. That project's moving forward. We're still waiting on construction documents from the architect. Shouldn't be much longer. The North Regional Library Upgrades Project, administration met with library staff and the architect and Public Works, and we discussed, and the discussions led to the recommendation that because of the size, the location, the scope of work, walls, painting, carpet, ripping out ceilings to install new mechanical equipment, it just didn't seem feasible to phase it because it's so small. We literally have to clear out furniture and everything, and it would be very hard to keep things operational in that facility. So what's likely gonna happen is we're gonna shut down that facility and just try to get everything done as fast as possible. We're not sure of the timeline on that or how long we'll have to shut down, but we think that's the best route to take for that project.
It would actually, Larry, would it actually take longer? I'm sorry, forgive me. May I be recognized, please?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, forgive me. Larry, would it actually wind up taking longer trying to work around the library if it's functioning?
It would very likely take longer and be more expensive.
Okay, so by closing it temporarily, that lets them free rein and they can go in and do their work, get it done, and then get out.
Correct.
And then put everything back together, as opposed to trying to work it around.
Yeah. It's just,
piecemeal.
it's such a small location,
Right.
it's just not feasible to phase it.
And I'm not asking if you look at the numbers, but just you know, the time that it would take to actually go through that process of trying to keep it open and work at the same time.
Yeah, we don't have any of that information yet. We talked about 3-4 months closure maybe.
Okay.
That's early, it's very early, we're in the early design phases of this, so. Yeah.
And if I may throw another one out, and just a consideration, what would be considered the slow time of the year where you have less traffic? So the sounds going like, doesn't exist?
At that location, it is unique being it is a stop. It's
Right.
heavily used in the afternoons, 3 o'clock till 6,
During
7.
school year,
Yeah,
right?
heavily used during school year, heavily used during summer, so it will be an interruption for that location.
Okay. So
No
there
matter
was-
what route we take, it will interrupt the services of that location.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a lull period and if we could time it to where Sarah keeps laughing at me.
Fall?
No, because of the nature of the bus stop, it would almost be beneficial to do it in the summer where other the staff can go assist at other branches. That is much needed during that time, and the patrons can still visit other libraries across the parish offering summer reading activities, versus if that branch is still a bus stop, you're disrupting 60 to 80 students and their parents and the LPSS system and things like that. So as much as it pains me to say, summer is actually the better time.
And then, so the question that follows that is it possible to arrange it to where we get everything lined up and we go, we're gonna start, boom?
It depends on the timing of when we get documents and when we approve documents and when you approve documents and when the purchasing department approves. We could request that only work be done in a specific time, but it may drag on the project another year to get to that time.
And
So
then further
you just
include-
go when the
Okay.
documents finally hit the right department and it goes out for bid and you can say go, you just have to go.
Cause
Go.
then he puts you on, behind the wall
And the way prices are right now, they're not gonna hold their prices for very long.
Mr.
Thank you.
Ben, so that means that whenever y'all get the green light to go, no matter if it's summer or not, you're gonna do it. So are y'all talking to LPSS to try to think now what could be done if you have to disrupt the stop for the kids?
It's too early
It's
for that.
very early, yeah.
We will once we have a timeline.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have no timeline.
No, you're good. Team effort. Okay. So yeah, that's what's happening with the North Regional upgrades. For the Northeast Library, Public Works, Sarah and I met with the surveyor to discuss the property and describe our preferred outline of the property. Public Works also obtained existing property abstracts to help the surveyor and likely legal work up the research on the property, who had it before, how it was subdivided previously, and all that good stuff. The surveyor did provide us a cost estimate. It's coming in around $19,000. Notice to proceed was issued, so the surveyor estimates that he'll get his part done in about 20 to 25 business days. But after his part's done, he has to submit to the planning commission to subdivide the piece of land, and I'm not sure how long that takes. 60 to 90 days from that point. So it's going to be a minute. And of course, legal has drafted some ordinance documents, but they're
Yeah, legal needs the new plat
yeah, exactly.
or the updated appraisal
It's
and
all
the legal
dependent.
description for the ordinance.
It's all dependent on the survey and the plat. Yes.
Mr. Larry, on the survey for 19,000, is that one person y'all going with, or y'all getting multiple estimates for that survey?
There's a contract in place with LCG that we
Okay.
just, it saved us a lot of time by using a contract in place. Yeah, it's an as-needed contract. And that's what I have for facilities. As it relates to finances, as of October 9th, revenues are right around $12.8 million and expenses at $10.4 million. Our fiscal year is winding down with the year ending October 31st. But of course, some of you may remember it takes several months for the expenses of the current fiscal year to actually be posted and finalized. And we don't even get a finalized audit until April. So it takes a minute before I can give you actual financials for that fiscal year. October and November, we're working on pinpointing what expenses goes in what year. We're starting up in November, new purchases for the new year. It's just a in-between scenario, working through both years. But we're looking good, and the budget was adopted. I didn't hear anything about the mayor vetoing anything about the budget yet, so it may be done, not sure. And then also tomorrow, the parish council votes on the levy rates again of the parish villages. The mayor vetoed the previous vote of the parish council, so they're having to revisit it. And that's what I have for finances.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
So when I was reading the reports for the Milton Library, do we own the building, or is that a building that we lease or rent? Okay, so it's different.
We rented.
Okay, because I had saw in the report that a phone line was installed in the back room and a new AC unit was installed. I was just questioning who paid for that one.
The AC was replaced by the landowner, the property owner. We installed a secondary phone line for an emergency scenario.
Okay. And then one more. Dussault Branch. Someone had said they had an emergency with the lights, power outage or something in September on the 14th. And I had read something about it was the city's of Dussault's responsibility to maintain these lights. Did they take care of that, or are they going to take care of that, or is that something that they expect that we're gonna have to pay for?
I'd have to look into that one.
Okay.
Is it the outside lights?
Oh,
that
you-
they refer to?
It was in the report for Dussault, and it said, Dan says that it is the city of Dussault's responsibility to maintain these lights. But if they fail to do
Yeah,
so.
we'd have to check on that for you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, we can move on to new business. Board will consider the adoption proposal for the 2024 board meeting schedule.
Mr. President, I have a comment to make.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we can, I'm questioning August 19th, if we might be able to move it up. I know for a couple of us, the past couple of years, it's, that date's been kind of tight with going back to school, colleges, that kind of, those situations. And since July, it's an optional meeting, especially if we won't be meeting in July, I'm gonna request if maybe we can move up that August 19th meeting to maybe August 12th. No one has a conflict with that, or no?
That actually works better for me as well with my daughter with school, so I'm certainly in favor of that. August 12th instead of the 19th.
Yes.
I have no issues either. Here.
If I may, please,
Yes, sir, Judge.
January 8th, if I'm not mistaken, I think it happened this year and maybe even the previous year, that night is the night of the NCAA football championship. And, well, I don't watch football actually, but too much on occasion maybe, but I know other people enjoy football a great deal in the public, obviously. Maybe we can move that meeting to the 10th, which is a Wednesday, the following Wednesday. I know the 15th is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so that's not possible, it's a holiday. We could go later in that week too, so either the 10th or the 17th, and I'd be open to either one of those possibilities if that would be all right with the board then.
Can I toss out Tuesday the 9th instead?
Tuesday the 9th, the next day? Yeah, it was just the 8th became a problem. I know a lot of people will.
And I did confirm it is the 8th again this year.
Do you want to move it to the 9th, January the 9th?
The Tuesday's better. Yeah, again, I don't have any preference one way or the other, just not on that day, the 8th, so, I'll leave that. So if the 9th is good, which is the Tuesday,
Yeah, that's fine for me as well.
I think I just, for Ms. Armbruster's suggestion for August the 19th,
Yes, sir.
the week before, can we do August the 5th?
I'm fine with that.
The schools, I think, starts the following week,
First week of.
So that
the
would
first
work
week
for
of
you,
August. Yes, ma'am.
that's a Friday?
No, Monday.
It's the first
Oh,
week,
I'm
the
sorry,
first
I'm
Monday.
looking at January still. I'm still stuck in January. The 5th is a Monday.
That would work for me too.
That is also fine for me.
Yeah, I'm good with that, that's fine. I don't have that far ahead anyway, so.
I'm putting it on my calendar.
Yeah, we need a motion. I'll make a motion that we adopt the Lafayette Public Library Board of Control 2024 board meetings, January 8th to be the January 9th, and August 19th to be August 5th. All other dates remain the same. July is noted as an optional meeting, December is noted as an optional meeting. We can simply eliminate December, it's sort of in our practice not to have December, so I'll move that December be eliminated. January will be on the 9th, August will be on the 5th of August.
I'll second.
We have a second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any public comments?
No.
No. Good night. Good night. All right. Motion carries, the ayes have it.
Seconded.
All right, moving on to the library calendar. The board will consider adopting proposal library calendar for 2024.
Mr. President, if I can,
Yes, ma'am.
ask a question. Sarah, I'm assuming this is standard, basically what y'all do every year, there's nothing worth noting?
No, I think the biggest difference is we close a little earlier for maybe Mardi Gras or festival, because it's always, we end up closing earlier anyways, because we realize we need to get our staff out. And we changed our all-staff meeting from a Thursday to a Friday, so no one has to split their day and work 8 to 12 and then 4 to 8.
I'll make a motion to, adopt the 2024 calendar as is.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
No discussion?
Any discussion?
No.
Questions? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, next order of business is the election of officers.
No, the policy change.
Policy change, thank you. I'm moving, we're on the roll. Policy change, road action discussion to take action and change in regards to the policy removed for this is dealing with the library card or borrowed cards.
Exam proctoring policy.
Okay.
May I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Sauer, the proctoring of an exam, this is something the library provides service for typically. Does it cover just students K through 12, or does it cover university students or any student?
I'm not sure if we've ever had any high school students. Historically, it's been college students who are working, getting their degree online and need an officially proctored exam.
Okay. Is there any, does the library receive any remuneration for that service, or it's part of having a card?
It's part of having a card. So if you're a card holder, you can request it. We set them up in a private study room. It's really easy on staff, really. They kind of put them in a room that they can see them, and then when they're done, they email the professor.
Okay. And then the change would be that the only ones that this is applicable for are those patrons that have a card.
Yes, so this policy was just outdated as it referenced the Bayou Land reciprocal borrower cards. We no longer do the reciprocal borrowing cards, so I felt there might be some confusion if anyone tried to read the policy and apply it. So I think removing any reference to that would make it clear cut. You have to have a full privileges card with us, which we have several options for, and there's no confusion.
Okay, so you just mentioned something, they have to have a full privileges card. Should we add that language in?
We can, because I don't think historically we've offered it to PC only holder cards.
Registered library. Full privilege is the word you use?
Full service is.
Full service is the correct term? Full service card holders? Where do we want to
Registered full service library card holders.
So full service between registered and library. So it'll read registered full service library card holders in good standing with Lafayette Public Library are eligible. Okay. I'll make a motion to make this policy change as read, with the addition of that term full service inserted between the words registered and library. So it will read registered at full service library card holders in good standing with Lafayette Public Library or eligible.
I second that.
Any comments?
Yes.
Public comments, please.
Lynette, Mayor.
Good evening. My name is Lynette Mejia, and I live in Lafayette Parish. I understand that you are making this policy change in order to bring the wording in line with the card policy, but I want to comment on it because I'd like you to pause and think about what it means. What a great service exam proctoring is for someone, perhaps a high school student, and I do know high school students who have used this service. Taking online classes in order to get a leg up on college, or an adult student taking online classes in order to get a degree while they work. What a gift this service is to our community. And here we are tonight, not here in joy, getting ready to vote to extend this service to more people in our community, but once again getting ready to make sure fewer people have access to our services. What does that say to you? How does that make you feel? Why are you here on this board if not to make the library better? Ending the free reciprocal borrowing policy was put in place over a year ago. The justification was that we needed to make some money with these out-of-parish cards. Why don't you ask some questions about how much money has been made from those out-of-parish cards? And then ask how many people from out of parish couldn't afford to get those new cards, and so just don't come here anymore. How many poor rural families who might have used this exam proctoring service gratefully now no longer will? Has that savings been worth it? Has it been worth the negative reputation we've gotten with the other libraries in the consortium? I was so sad when I saw this on the agenda tonight, because removing this language is another reminder of how LPL has been systematically stripped of programs that made it a regional hub of learning in Acadiana. When is it going to stop? Thank you.
See it.
I'm not fully aware of the fullness of this change tonight. Based upon what you just said, I'd like to learn more about that. If it's going to cause, and this is a question maybe for Sarah, cause certain individuals not to be privileged to or have access to based upon money or whatever the case, I would like to know more about that.
So for the most part, from my understanding, I am not aware of every student that comes to our libraries for proctoring, but they attend school online, they need a place to have their exam proctored. We could look at making exceptions, because like that depends on how they classify as going to school in Lafayette Parish. It is a relatively easy and mostly free charge. I mean, it takes us, usually they schedule it on the night they're already working, they're in the building, they put them in a room, they email a professor. It does not have to be limited to library card holders. That is just what the language of the policy already was. So I just wanted to make it consistent. I'm trying to think back at the stats. I think we, at the main library, maybe proctored 4 or 5 students last month. I don't know the full number, but considering it is not a huge burden on our staff, it's something they already do, and it's something they're already doing when they're at work. I don't think a library card would be necessary, or we could ask that they do a PC library card only, so that we at least have record.
Okay.
I'm sorry, excuse me, sorry, if you could, what did you say? The last thing that you said? What kind of card?
The PC only card, so it's part of the policy, anyone who doesn't qualify for a full service library card can get a PC only card, so they can use our computers, but they can't access any of our physical items.
And the proctored exams always take place on a computer?
Yes.
And this policy doesn't exclude high school students from being able to come here to take the exams, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again?
This policy as is does not exclude high school students from being able to come here to take.
No, it doesn't exclude anyone. It just asks that you have a library card.
And I don't think that's too much to ask, that someone have a library. Okay, the public is saying that it costs. What does it cost?
If they don't live in Lafayette Parish, due to the changes to the library card policy about a year ago, they would have to pay the $20 fee to have an out-of-parish library card if they do not live in Lafayette Parish, go to school in Lafayette Parish, or work in Lafayette Parish. So I would have to speak to our circulation managers, but if they're going to school online, then technically, if that school is not in Lafayette Parish, they do not go to school in Lafayette, but they are a student who lives in Lafayette, or they may be a student who lives surrounding Lafayette.
Okay, so if they're a student that lives in the surrounding area of Lafayette, then they have access to get library cards.
For $20.
Outside of the parish?
Outside of the parish. If they live outside of the parish and they're a student, but it is not a student of a school in Lafayette Parish, they would have to pay $20 to get a card.
Do their own libraries where they're from in their parish not offer this type of service?
I do not have that information readily available to me.
So every student that goes to a school in Lafayette Parish has a library card?
Yes, if you attend
Automatically.
an LPSS school, you automatically have a library card. If you attend SLCC, UL, any of the other schools, if you can show us a student ID of a school that is in Lafayette Parish, you get a free card.
Okay, so out of thousands of kids, you said maybe 3 or 4 kids use
That
this?
was from one branch. I would have to look at the stats. I do know it has lowered significantly, especially after COVID. We used to do, I know sometimes 15, 20 students a month at South Regional, but now they have, from my understanding, they don't have a strict exam proctoring policies because they realize it is a hindrance to students, and they allow them to do more options like at home where you set your computer up and you're on camera and you don't actually have to go to a separate location. So we still have students coming in. It is not the numbers we had 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Sarah, I ask these questions because oftentimes the comments from the audience, which we welcome, can make us seem demonized in the decisions we try to make. But it's important that we know what we try to decide on, and that if it benefits the kids going forward in the library going forward. So we certainly don't want to make it hard for kids to get these services based upon money. I would like to hear from.
But Ms. Sarah said something about the PC only card, which would give the kids access to be able to take that exam without costing the student.
We would have to
person.
make an amendment to remove the full service part of the first motion, I think. I'm not the,
Yes, and we have a motion and a second. In order to remove that language, that's part of the entire thing. The language was not an amendment, the language was the original motion.
right.
If they wanted to amend that to include full service or PC cards, if you wanted to add that, it would have to be an amendment to that language. And then you'd have to vote on the amendment first, then the rest of the policy, after that policy, after the original motion would be
I think you might be
would amend it.
overcomplicating it a little bit. The motion to amend is still on the table, so just go through that, have that vote, whether you.
No, there's no motion to amend.
Yeah, there's a motion to adopt the policy with the
Correct.
full service language.
Yes.
Just go through the vote for that, then someone can make a motion to adopt it without that language.
Or add the PC language. Full service and PC, or you can just eliminate, somebody could make a motion to eliminate the word full service and attach that and then vote on that first.
Can I make a motion to?
Excuse me,
No.
if I may, please. I had to go through an exam and have an exam proctored. I didn't use the library service, I used a professor that I knew, and he proctored the exam for me. So, besides the library, there's other options too. But I was working online on a university degree, not high school. So I don't know, and I'll ask you if you do know, most of these exams that are being proctored are people doing a degree online of some sort or another, not necessarily high school.
I couldn't speak to that.
You can't speak,
fully.
we don't know, okay.
In my experience, where I have spoken to students coming into the library when I was still in the branches,
Mhm.
it was university students, but my experience is not universal, so I am not sure who is all coming in for them.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing is that every student in Lafayette Parish has a library card. By
Yes.
default, they have one.
Yes.
And every student at SLCC or UL has a library card. So if they needed a proctoring
They
service,
could get a library card.
they could get one. They're eligible to get one for free. Doesn't cost them any money. So really, the only people that are involved here are people who do not live in Lafayette Parish, who do not pay Lafayette Parish taxes. They don't live here. And then even then, if their parents are workers here, the parents get a card, they could use their parents' card. Could they not? No.
Yes.
Theoretically, yes. We don't always
Okay.
check on
In
that.
practicality, yes, they could.
Yes.
Okay. So this is an extraordinarily small group of people that could possibly be excluded, and it would be residents of other parishes that don't have any affiliation with Lafayette Parish, and they have libraries in Acadia and Vermilion and St. Martin, et cetera.
Smaller libraries with smaller staff and limited services.
Sure enough.
By your own argument, it's a small population that I think if they were to use this it would be beneficial to them, and it's not a burden on us. So if we could add the PC, I think it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, the counter argument is true too. It's because it's such a small number of people involved. It's, okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
why
you.
not do the win-win?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're still gonna leave the part that's scratched out, that will still remain scratched out because we no longer do reciprocal borrowing cards?
Correct.
Okay. Then I'd like to make a motion that we,
Can we have a little bit more conversation? Because just for simplicity's sake, I'm just wondering if we just take it, leave it as it was originally written, and we don't have to worry about full service RPC, if that would solve the problem.
As the original proposed changes where we just take out the second line item.
For that first, we mentioned adding registered full-service library cards.
Mhm.
But if we just left that out and it just read registered library card holders, that would be all encompassing, including full-service and PC, is that correct?
Correct. That could be, yes, an easy interpretation of it.
All right.
That's probably easier.
That might be the easiest.
Because that would cover full service
Right.
or PCO, what she was saying, yeah.
But we need an amendment to do that.
Well, did we vote on this first one yet?
No, we did not. But you can amend that original motion to eliminate the language full service.
Oh, there was a motion on the table?
Yes, in a second. So if we wanted to scratch this out in an efficient way, we just make a motion, we just amend to scratch out full service, and then vote on that, and then it scratches that out, and then the motion, the original motion, if we voted to pass that full service language would be eliminated, and then as it was written originally would be
All right.
passed.
I'll make a motion, an amended motion that we disregard the definition of full-service library cards and just leave it as it was originally written.
There's a motion,
I second that.
motion and a second, for the amendment.
Good, good. Okay. All right,
There are no comments.
no comments?
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I have it, the motion.
Okay, that's the amendment, now we go
Okay.
to the original motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the policy changes as presented to the board.
I'm sorry, point of order. We don't need to make a motion, there's already a motion, we just need to vote.
You vote, okay.
Call for vote.
All right, we have a call for vote on the floor.
What was that motion again? If we can have it read again?
Right, so the original motion was to add the word full service. We have voted to amend that and scratch it out. It goes back to the original language as it was originally written. And we had a motion and a second, so that now is up for vote. Because it's already been amended.
Okay.
So the words full service no longer exist.
Granting now that I'm sorry if I may.
That's right, yes.
Granting now that we have the director and her staff interpret it as full service, but so we're all under the same understanding. Yeah.
The registered library card, if they got a registered library card, it could be full service, PC, whatever, just, they got a card.
Okay. All right. Take a vote for that? Is that right? All right, so all in favor?
Aye?
Aye. All right, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Everybody good?
Yes.
All right.
That was a long way around the block, wasn't it?
Well, the goal is to hopefully that the kids can win and we can continue to service everybody. Thank you. All right, election of officers. The board will elect a library board president and vice president for a term effective November of 23 to October of 24. All right, so
Well, I guess I'll start it off.
All right.
Sure. I vote to continue to nominate yourself, Mr. Daniel Kelly as the president.
I'll second that.
Do we have to do comments for both positions, or what are we doing?
Yes, before any vote, we have to vote.
Yes.
Okay.
Public comments?
I have Amanda Anderson.
Hello, Amanda Anderson from Lafayette, and I just wanted to go on record saying that I support James Thomas to be the president. I do not support Daniel Kelly. I'm sorry, but I do not. And I also didn't appreciate the fact that now we're praying again. Well, I didn't pray, but prayers introduced, so I'm not sure when that happened because I thought the parish and the city council put an end to that, but here we are being forced to listen to prayer in a public institution that I pay taxes on. But I will circle back around and say again, I support James Thomas to be the board president, and I hope that somebody will step up and nominate him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynette Maya.
Hello again. Mr. Kelly, you're a lovely man. I mean, you seem like a very nice person. But it's pretty clear who was running the meeting tonight. It wasn't you. I mean, you don't have the experience.
Well, I am going to rely on my board to help me out. I don't appear to have all of it, but together we can make the decisions.
Exactly.
That's the goal.
That's my point. It shouldn't be together. It should be the president who's running the meeting. So I would urge someone to nominate James, because James knows how to run the meeting on his own. I understand your heart is in the right place, and that I appreciate you listening and responding. I truly do. I feel like, though, that you need a little bit more experience with, how to run the meeting and how to be a little bit more assertive in terms of, running it on your own. So I would encourage someone to nominate James. So, thank you.
That's the end of comments.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? All right, then we are still taking a vote. All right. All right, so vote for the record. Okay. We start off with Ms. Stephanie Bruce.
Daniel Kelly?
Daniel Kelly.
Daniel Kelly.
Mr. Kelly.
Daniel Kelly.
All right, we have a vote on the board. On the floor.
So you were elected.
All right, so we're gonna be moving to the office of Vice President.
I nominate James Thomas for vice president.
I'll second that motion.
We have no public comments? Okay. All right, I nominate Stephanie Armbruster, Vice President.
I'm open to candidates. Can I motion now? Okay. I'll second that. Good job.
Excuse me.
Any public comments concerning that?
No public comments.
I had the pleasure of working there.
And Kate, I'm sorry, I apologize. Did you want to speak again regarding?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Over the last year, I had the ability to work with James in his capacity as vice president. We actually worked together very well, especially with the Northeast Committee and the coming together with a mission statement. I also had the great pleasure of working with Ms. Armbruster for over several years. And so I think with her experience and the direction of this board, I'd like to go in. I think it would be good to have a whole new change in the officers. And at the same time, James's experience does lend itself for consideration as well. So, it's kind of interesting that we find ourselves having a discussion about which of these two very qualified people we would vote for, and so we have to take a decision on what is probably the best thing to do for the board and the library. I think the fact that Ms. Armbruster has an MBA, she works in private business, she's acutely aware of taxpayer concerns regarding finances and has been part of the board that got our finances in order. I would like to recommend that she serve as vice president for the next year.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank Ms. Arsenal for the nomination. It has truly been a pleasure serving as vice president this last year. I'm proud of the work that I bring to the table as vice president. I love working closely with the administration, and so I hope that my fellow colleagues will give me their support to continue in this position. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, we're gonna take a vote for Ms. Armbruster as vice president.
We're gonna go.
That's the motion on the floor.
Ms. Bailey?
No, you can just roll call and have
Just roll
everyone
call.
name their choice. There's two on the floor.
Two on the floor. Okay. All right, we'll have a roll call on the floor. Starting with Rashford.
Ms. Stephanie Armbruster.
Thomas.
Stephanie Armbruster.
Stephanie?
Thomas.
And I'll vote for myself.
Congratulations, Ms. Stephanie Armbruster. We're gonna move on to the next order, the announcements. Just a reminder, the next library board meeting will be held Monday, November 20th, 2023. Also a reminder of the yearly ethics training, prevention of sexual harassment training must be completed by December 31st. We're going to go to any public comments on library business, which is not on the agenda.
Okay, Miss Amanda Anderson?
Amanda, Lafayette. So I mostly came here today to get some information and ask some questions. I heard that a collection of books were moved in the library without any sort of due process. That's just what I've heard down the grapevine. And apparently it included books on puberty. And so, yes, the books on puberty were apparently moved from the young adult section to the adult nonfiction section. And so I have not checked myself whether this actually did happen, and so I didn't know if that's a question I can ask anybody, and if y'all can answer if those puberty books were actually moved to the adult nonfiction section.
I can't speak unless they-
Anybody? Do y'all know? Do you know? Did you know that happened? Did it happen?
Miss Sarah, can you speak to that?
They were moved, we looked at the collection, from my understanding of quite a few of them were actually weeded from non-use for 3 to 5 years. When looking at the stats, over the past year or two, they were mostly checked out by adults, not children. We moved them to family because we put a lot of resources for parents looking for materials to speak on those topics with their children.
Okay, so I obviously oppose that action, and I request that they be returned immediately while reconsideration request is filed and a more thorough review is conducted according to policy and procedures, because I heard it was just somebody in the library that had made a complaint and no due process was completed. So I just ask that y'all look into that, and if we can have I know we have procedures and policies in place to review the collection policy, and we can be involved with that as well. Thank you.
Ebb Hale?
Good evening. I'm Ebb Hale, and I want to thank all of you for your service. And I thank you for your concern for our young people, our children, to do what is right, I think. And I appreciate the opening prayer, and I pray that the Lord bless you all. Thank you.
Karen Chance?
Hi, my name is Kara Chance. I'm here as a concerned parent. If my daughter or one of the 50 to 80 kids who are at North every day wanted a book about periods, then in the past they could walk over to the juvenile section and pull the book. Now those books have been moved to the adult section. So they walk a few yards over to the adult section and they can pull Hello Flo, the guide, period, except now the book is sandwiched between Bonk, the Curious Coupling of Sex and Science, which is an adult sex book, and The Queen Bee, which is an adult book about healthcare down there. Similarly, here at Maine, a juvenile who wants the Everybody book can walk up the stairs and still get a hold of the Everybody book, except now it's next to the adult book, Surviving Infidelity. So the kids still have access to these same books, except now they're also exposed to adult material. I would like you to please consider moving the juvenile books written on topics of juvenile interest for juveniles back to the children's section so they are not exposed to adult topics.
Stephen Lazarus.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'd like to address the staffing issues at the library with a few questions for the board and the interim director. First, how are the library services impacted by the staffing shortages? I think it's important to understand that you can't run a library without appropriate staff, and there seem to be a number of staff, more than 5, around 10, that were openings. I didn't count exactly. So I think that's important to understand and important that the public know. Second, is there, or not is there, but what is the root cause of these staffing shortages? I think we need to know that as well. Why are people, why is there this need? Why are there these openings? Is it resignations? Is it firings? What's the, what's the morale in the library? That's something we need to know as well. Do we want the public to go in and be treated not so nicely because the morale is not at its top? Next question, what are the efforts to enhance the recruitment of staff? How far along are we in recruiting? I understand being in a library is not a very popular job these days, and I understand it could be difficult to recruit, but what efforts are being made to recruit, especially this number of staff? Next question, what is the state of the director search? Are there any candidates identified? How many candidates? And what's the anticipated date of a new hire? I think all of these issues, a library is a people business. Yes, there are books, yes, there's media of one sort or another, but you're dealing with the public, you're dealing with patrons, you have staff, you have board, we're all people, and certainly staff morale is key in providing services to the public. So I'd like, if possible, to get some answers in this forum. If not, I'd like to see some answers in a public forum so that we can understand how well things are going in terms of recruiting, in terms of providing services, in terms of providing a director. Thank you.
Mary Garcia.
Mary Liv Garcia, Lafayette Parish. Just a couple of things. First, I've never been to a meeting where someone that seconds a motion to nominate someone then votes for another candidate. But be that as it may, I really think you all need some parliamentary training. And I also am curious about the comment that, in terms of Ms. Armbruster's nomination, which is fine, that she will continue to lead this board in the direction in which you want it to go. And I have never really heard that articulated, and I would be real interested in knowing who has determined what direction this board is going in. So those are just some things. I wish Mr. Kelly, I wish Ms. Armbruster good luck. But I'm here tonight to speak to you about the decision to pause the Lafayette Reads Together program. This is a program that's been in effect for 9 years.
Point of order, if I may. Yes, sir. This item was on the agenda.
It's not, it was included in comments. It was not an agenda item. So, that's why I asked to speak to it under public comments, and I'd like my time back. Am I correct, Paige, in my understanding of the parliamentary procedure? Okay, all right. So at any rate, I'm here just to make, because I don't know enough about it. I haven't had an opportunity to speak to Ms. Monroe about it. All I'm here to do is to advocate for a program that is really serving our entire parish. It's a family program where children come with their families and they read together. And as I said, it's fully funded. I don't know anything about the extenuating circumstances about travel costs, but those are surmountable problems. So what I would like to ask is that you not give up on this program for this year. If you need a little bit more time, you've got resources from Friends of the Library who've given you over $1 million. You've got resources from the Lafayette Public Library Foundation. You've got a lot of people willing to help you. Let's try to salvage this program maybe delay it in the year, and I'd be happy to help myself in any way that I can. I just think it's a real important program. There's been so much negativity about this library board in particular and about the library system. This is something really, really positive that goes on, and it reaches so many people. And it's really a national program, and it's throughout the state. So it's a real important program not to give up on. So thank you very much, and I would like to ask you to think about trying to save that program, even if you have to delay its implementation to later in the spring. Thank you.
Lynette Mejia.
Lynette Mejia, Lafayette Parish. I would like to speak to the ongoing issue of book restriction, which is happening at LPO. I recently discovered that books about puberty have now been moved to the adult nonfiction section at all branches. This was done without a single reconsideration request being filed that I know of. So now, when my 12-year-old daughter wants to check out a book called The Girl's Body Book, she has to go up to the adult nonfiction section. So was this the idea, that now any book that mentions a body part at all has to be in the adult section? Instead of being in the young adult section with other books about topics that are relevant to her age group, she's now looking through books with puberty along with a bunch of adults who are also in the sexual health section. How is that protecting her innocence? Before anyone bandies about Act 436, perhaps someone should try actually reading it. It requires that libraries have systems of reconsideration in place so that patrons who have an objection to a book can avail themselves of that process. Nowhere does it talk about libraries moving entire genres of books based on one complaint without following the process at all. If those books aren't moved back to where they should be, I'll have to file reconsideration requests on each and every one of them in order to see that they are shelved as they should be. Second, you all are trustees of this library. Your job is to advocate for this library, to promote it, and to procure for the community resources needed for its maintenance and operation. That includes financial resources. Over the advice of your Director of Operations, your Library Director, and the Parish Tax Assessor, you voted in June not to recommend to the Parish Council that they roll up the millage in the upcoming budget, potentially costing the library over $300,000 a year. Listen to that again. Costing the library over $300,000. Why are you here if you're voting against the library's best interests? If you aren't here to advocate for the library, why are you here? Luckily, the Parish Council had the foresight not to listen to your recommendation and voted to roll up the millage anyway. Tomorrow night, they will have to vote to override a veto from the mayor, a politically tough thing to do and something that requires encouragement from library supporters. That should be you. You should be there speaking up for the institution you are charged with protecting and encouraging those council members to vote to override that veto. Because this job is more than monthly meetings and culture wars and book discards. This is the real work. Thank you.
I have a question for you, sir. In regards to the reading program that was mentioned earlier, is that something that is already fully funded? We have the funds to continue that program?
The foundation donates the money. Once the book is chosen, there's certain restrictions. We try to make sure it's available in paperback because it's too expensive to buy hardcover. Then we give them a quote for however many we want to purchase that year. They cut the check for it and provide the funds. From my understanding, the author is paid for through the funds that the Friends of the Library donate to us every year. It's built in, so that's why we have a restriction there, because we also use that money towards other things. They were just struggling to pick a book this year. We were getting close to the deadline because our librarians have to know, they have to be able to plan, we have to be able to order the books and have them come in time. We're coming up on our 10th year. The way the program was structured, it was, the author was an integral part. It wanted to be published within 5 years. It was for all ages, but we altered between a teen book, an adult book, a kid book, go back and forth. And they were just struggling to find one that met all the criteria that they felt would appeal to the entire community. We were running out of time. We felt like it was a good time to pause and think about what the program is going to be in the future. We're not canceling it, we're gonna bring it back. It may come back next fall. That's another thing we wanna consider, is January through March the best time to offer this program? Because we usually go January to March and then go straight into summer, and it's very exhausting. There's not always a great time to have things, but that's what we wanna look at. Is January to March the best time for the program? Is the way we select the book, the criteria that was set forth 10 years ago, the best criteria to select the book, things like that.
May I ask a question as well?
Yes, sir, Mr. Judge.
Sarah, what I'm gathering from what you spoke about before and what you just said was, we've done it, we've had this program for 10 years, and this is sort of a reassessment of it. And not the program itself as a reassessment, but really just kind of looking at all the aspects of it and what's the best way to move forward, and sort of taking a respite, kind of regroup, and then bring it forward. Is that, I'm trying to put it in a nutshell, is that kind of what I'm getting at?
These things take time. Like I told you, we did this with our earlier literacy initiative. We launched the Read to Me book club. For that one was a little different because it wasn't quite working what we wanted, like how we wanted to, but we didn't open registration. We just kind of pressed pause, and we spent 9 months working on the new program that just launched October 2nd. And 9 months wasn't enough time because it takes, we have staff from all over the parish that come together for meetings. You have to order things, you have to make decisions, you have to look for feedback. These things don't happen quickly, and for me, I've been on this committee before, the fact that a book hadn't been solidified, that they were still wavering, we had some options, but we weren't like really set on anything. When September rolled around, it's too late at that point. You're 4 months from you're supposed to be launching the program. We have to buy the books, we have to plan the programs. I would rather press pause and do it right in a year than, part of my language, give you a half-assed program, because that's what it would have been.
Thank you for you. It sounds to me this is a decision y'all came together with, and it sounds prudent to, so thank you for that, and thank you for the detailed information about that very much.
Mr. Kelly, I'd like to say something. I do appreciate the questions and comments from the audience. When y'all say things, it does make us think, not just me, but everyone on this board. We're not here just for us. We are here because we care about this community as a whole. And like I said earlier in the meeting, I did read the reports. There's a lot of good things that are happening in our library systems, in our libraries. I think sometimes it might be a best kept secret. We need to find a way to spread the good things that are happening in our library. I don't think that's getting told enough. There's a lot of thought and input that is being, used to put these programs together. So again, I applaud y'all for the work that y'all do. It cannot be easy. So, and I appreciate you being honest with us about how much time it takes to do things, and that you need a minute to gather some information, rethink things. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Kelly, if I may be.
Yes, ma'am.
I know there was someone who expressed some concerns about vacant positions. If you the question I want to ask is there a shortage of applicants for these positions? And the reason I'm asking this is because I spoke to Mr. Gillane maybe early August. It may have been, that may not be the exact date, but he told me that at one time there was, for positions that were being held, they actually had to close I don't know the correct terminology, but LCG allows a certain time period, and they actually had to close it early because they received so many applications to that. So my question to you is, are we having an issue with applicants for vacant positions?
Yes and no. So for our paraprofessional staff, library technical assistants, library associates, I was informed that one of our recent library associate postings over the summer or earlier this year was the first time LCG had to close an application because they reached their maximum applicants. So as far as those positions go, no. We do not have a lack of applicants. For the librarians, there was a time we were struggling. I have been very optimistic lately. I sat in on rating interviews the past week to hire a librarian 2 for youth services here at the main library, which we've struggled to fill for a year, and then a recent librarian 2 assistant manager position, which is only vacant because of a promotion, and we had 5 candidates for each one, the majority being external candidates, so that gives me hope. We haven't had external candidates in a very long time. So out of most of the vacancies I mentioned today, most of them are because of promotions. We're promoting people from LTA 1s to LTA 3s. People get their degree and go from LA 1s to librarian 1s, or librarian 2s to librarian 3s. The ones we're really struggling with are actually the ones that don't have anything to do with library business. It's the building superintendent, the director's executive secretary.
All right. I really appreciate the opportunity by my colleagues in this position. I really, my goal and my hope is to bring good, positive energy, if you will, and really, as Ms. Ellis says, we've been the board has been critiqued very hard. It seems like the negativity is the only thing that's being promoted. But I think the library board is on the right track. And not to indicate that it was not on the right track, but I believe that we're gonna do our community a great service by coming together and making these decisions. So thank you guys for your votes tonight. And we're gonna adjourn the meeting. Any comments at all? We're going to stand and close in prayer. So, Father, we thank you tonight for a great meeting. Thank you for your wisdom and guidance. Protect us on our way home. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Amen.